Hey everyone, Lazy Penny here. This story time is about the first time I ever got high. Now, before I start this happened to me back in February, and so it was a while ago, and I haven't really done much of it since. That other time is a story that I'll tell pretty soon. But anyways, I hope you all enjoy the story time. If you want more, there will be a playlist of these. Anyways, let's dive on in. So this story time takes place a few months back. It's February of 2024. I remember this sort of well, sort of not, so bear with me as I try to explain this because of, well, what I did in this. So, we planned to do an Airbnb. Originally, I wasn't invited because of whatever reason. And then some people backed out, and then this guy invites me. He's like, hey, do you want to join us and everything? So I said, sure. And it kind of went off from there. And prior to this, I was talking to my other buddy that was also going. I was like, I'm kind of curious of what it's like being high and all this because, curiosity killed the cat and everything. So I'm telling him, like, I'm kind of curious. I wonder what it's like because people make it sound fun, blah, 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 blah. But for me, I never really went for it because, people have stories, addictions, and all that. So I was never like, oh, let me just do it immediately. My friend was a little drunk explaining this, but he's not like a bad drunk either. He's actually pretty coherent when you speak to him. He's very good at not having hangovers and stuff. He's very smart about not getting like too drunk or being too dehydrated afterwards. And during this time of explaining my situation, he's like, look, with the Airbnb thing coming around, you're always welcome to do it. You never have to do it. There is no pressure. But if you're really curious, this might be the best place to do it because everyone's kind of going to do it. No one's really going to go anywhere but stay at the house. So I was like, you know what? Sure. Why not? And so I invited my friend T. I said, I know you've done this a little bit with your girlfriend in the past, but I was wondering not only could you come with me, but also do this with me for my first time. And he's like, yeah, bro, I get to do this with Lazy Panda. That's fire. I was like, oh, okay. Well, didn't realize we were going there. Anyways, and it's kind of stupid, but the other reason why I wanted to do this was so that I had story times because I realized how bland my life was getting to a certain point. But here we are now making the story. And on the day of the trip, I got a haircut. Thought it was looking nice, looking very spazzy, whatever. And everyone was able to get there in about like an hour and a half. For some reason, my GPS said, oh, yeah, no, we're going to take the longest way we can. So it took us 2 hours because instead of going on a highway and going straight there, it took us through like 5 towns, these different cities I've never seen before in my life. But it was a very nice sight. The few of the places looked very nice. I also forgot to mention that prior to this, we actually cash apped the money to a person that could get it for us, and then went from there, and that's how we were able to do it without us technically doing it, if you know what I mean. And we're driving and driving and driving, and then finally we get to this house, and it's actually a nice house. And we were pretty sure that someone was in the basement because we weren't allowed in there. So we assumed that someone was living down there, and we were like, okay, well, we rented this place, so we're gonna treat it as we will. With respect, of course, because we're not those annoying type of people. We will make sure that the house is clean and all that. This is the first time I've really done an Airbnb as well, so I didn't really know what to expect, but this is how it was going to be, pretty much. And so we get inside. My buddy brought this huge speaker. I don't know how to describe it. Basically, compare it to the size of a PlayStation 5. Yes, that's the only thing I can think of because that's what's in my eyesight right now. So imagine two PS5s stacked on top of each other with a bit of like pretty good width. That's what it looked like. It was pretty thick and pretty big. What? But he was blaring the music 24/7. You would think that we were like never gonna sleep because of how loud it was and how long we were doing it for. But it was still pretty fun nonetheless hearing songs from it. It was so loud. I could feel it in my body with all the bass and everything. It was pretty cool. But we get in there, and there's already people that are experienced in smoking and such, so they're already doing that. And then me over here, I'm not really doing any of that yet because obviously I just got there. I'm newer. So I'm a little bit like hesitant. And at that point, I was like, oh, I'm not going to smoke. I'm not going to hit a DAT pen or anything. I don't want to do that. And I explained that to everybody at first. I was like, hey, I know I said I'm doing all this stuff, but just remember, I'm not trying to do any smoking. I'm only going to do edibles. And there are these tiny blue ones. It was in a baggie. It was like 5 milligrams or something. It wasn't bad at all. It was really, really, really small. And for my first time, I was fine with that. And I tried reminding myself of those stories where people said, oh, this isn't hitting, and then took more than needed. And I tried to, avoid that situation, and I actually did really well. Problem is, it didn't work. I think I psyched myself out the first time when I was trying to do it, and it didn't work. And so, especially on that night, I was feeling really excited about doing all this. And so I took a shot of this tiny bottle. I don't know if I should say the brand name here, and it was more alcohol than taste, if you guys know what I'm talking about. It was not fun, but I chugged it, and then I had to stop halfway because it tasted like liquid medicine, which I cannot drink personally. And so I was like, what's the fun in this? This is awful. At least I was thinking. But everyone was looking at me and they're like, you got this, chug, chug, blah, blah. And so I said, fine. And then I tilted my head up. I drank it all. I swallowed it like a champ. And 30 seconds later, I was in the bathroom. Let's just put it that way. And so I lost all the edibles. And I was like, you know what? Forget this. It's fine. Whatever. And so I go to bed in disappointment. I was very disappointed. I thought, being high is overrated because I didn't even get high. And I was explaining this to my enthusiast friend that loves smoking weed. He has a whole setup basically for this stuff. He's always prepared to have a good time. Let's put it that way. And then I woke up the next day and it was really quiet. People definitely partied so hard last night that while it was loud last night, it was like a ghost town in the morning. Then everybody got up at a certain point and just started watching this movie. I didn't really care about the movie. I wanted to get high and try it again. Not because I was addicted, but because I was like, last night was such a burnout because of what happened that I want to try again and hopefully capture it. I want to capture that high. And it was so bad that in the morning when my buddy's girlfriend got up, she's also a smoker. So I said, hey, I want to try getting high through smoking. She goes, oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. And she tries to explain to me, like, when you breathe in, you want to breathe in a good amount of it, then hold it, and then you want to let it go afterwards. That's how you're really going to feel it, or at least something like that. I apologize if I'm sabotaging the way she explained it, but that's what I remember. And so it was a really weird setup. She had the mouthpiece with the bit under it, and then she had these two wires. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm talking about. She had these two wires. She put them together, and it made the thing work. Like, it started flashing like white or whatever color it was to be turned on. And it was hot, so I had to be quick with it. So I took a hit, or I thought I did. I don't know if I did, but I tried. I blew it out. So for the rest of the day, I'm just waiting for it to hit. And I also forgot to mention prior, when I got the gummies the night before, it wasn't hitting per se, but there was more THC than CBD or anything of that sort. So I was more relaxed and my eyelids were pretty heavy more than anything. But my thing was, I didn't want to fall asleep. We were at a party scenario. Like, I wasn't trying to just sleep on the job. I have this place to be at. I have a reputation to uphold. That was my thought. And then I tried again and again, and I still feel so bad for this other guy. So the guy that planned all this, I asked him, I was like, can I take a hit of your pen? He goes, sure, that's totally fine. Go ahead and try it. So I tried it. It was whatever. I was coughing pretty badly. I remember it felt like a burn in my throat. And I was just like, man, this better be worth it, because if not, I'm going to have a problem, because this hurts a lot. Hours went by. And hours went by with nothing, no feeling. And I told him, I was like, I don't feel it. And I think they think that I was faking it and trying to be sober when I really wasn't, because he just kind of looked over at me and went, sure. When genuinely it's because I was confused. I'd never done this before, so I was really like curious and confused as to why this wasn't working. And then that same night, I was doing it again, whatever. I didn't drink because I learned my mistake from yesterday. But yeah, that was fun. And so I took another bit of edibles, and I don't know if this was the same night or the night after. I think it was the second night where we played cup pong, and the people that were drinking would drink. Obviously, I didn't because I didn't like it. And we would always almost win. We would have one cup, the other team would have like 3 to 4, and then they would always have a rebuttal, or we would just keep on missing, especially with my other friend getting really high and me just being hyper. I was really hyper for some reason. Like, I was really excited that I was in this, like, I don't want to say situation, but this atmosphere. But needless to say, I didn't necessarily feel it either that night. And then my buddy was like, you can have the rest. So I forgot to mention that he and I actually split on getting these edibles. So he had one half, I had the other in the bag, not just like one bite, but like, say 6 here and 6 there. basically. And when he left, I said, "Oh, you forgot your edibles or your half." And he goes, "You can just have the rest. That's fine." So I said, "Oh, okay, word." Then on the last night, the last night, we wanted to go kind of hard. You know, people were cooking dinner and everything too, which was nice. But I was like, this is the night I need to get high. There is no excuses of me not being able to. And so I started with half of one, and I went from there. I smoked a little bit, and then I was really annoyed at this point because I was like, you know what? I've been taking it safe this whole entire time. So I think I took one half and then two whole edibles in the span of 20 minutes. I texted my buddy before this and I said, "Do you think I should do this?" He goes, "No, that's a terrible idea." The one that left me the other half. He goes, "No, that's a terrible idea. Do not do that." Then I'm asking everybody else at the house. You know what they said? The very opposite. They go, "You should go for it. You should go all in." So it's like, fine. And so I did. I took the rest that I could. Or I sat on this chair, one of the one-seaters, but I had it where my leg was over one armrest so I could see the TV and just kind of lay down. It was very uncomfortable after a certain point, but I was just so locked into the show called You. I haven't watched it ever before, and I haven't watched it since. But it was really weird because for some reason I just focused on him and he was really detailed and the show was really good for some reason. I was just so intrigued with how like he was doing what he was doing, and then I turned and I was like, whoa. Like when I was turning, it felt so overwhelming like an anxiety attack was about to happen. And then I turned to my friend because I have a friend on the couch next to me. I go, "Hey." He goes, "What's up?" I go, "I think I'm high." He goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, my mouth is really dry. I need to get something to drink." I don't know how I did this, and I can't describe this to justify how terrible this was. My vision was warping in and out, and somehow I got up, stood up, walked over, past the stairs, past the dining room, into the kitchen, grabbed a cup. Meanwhile, everybody is staring at me, making sure that I don't like pass out or whatever. I turned the sink on, turned it back off. I drank my water. I walked back, and I couldn't move after that. And then at a certain point, I just passed out. I don't remember what happened, but it wasn't like a bad pass. I was more like I just got tired and just went to sleep. And then the next day, that was when we were leaving, and I was fine with it. And then when we got on the highway, for some reason, something in my brain or my body just started to freak out. And I had two people with me, but I couldn't make it obvious because if I'm worried about this, it's only going to stress me out. If the other guys knew and they were stressed out, then I'd be more stressed out and then we would have a problem and then I'd be even more paranoid than before. So I kept it to myself, which they do not know until this day, until they probably hear the story time, but most likely won't. So we might be okay. But if they text me, I will understand. That's what happened for my very first time. I do have a last time, but that's a story for another time. Anyways, moral of the story, do not give in to peer pressure if there is any. Also, be patient. You don't have to run into things like drinking and doing drugs. There is nothing bad about taking your time and not even doing it at all. Don't worry about it. And don't rush into the experience because if you did, you would be in the situation that I was in. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. I will catch you guys in the next one. Good night and goodbye.